afternoon, everyone. My name is Lalit Rana. I am working as an assistant professor in IMT College of Pharmacy, Greater Noida. I would like to welcome all on behalf of IMT Group of Colleges. IMT Group of Colleges running under the able leadership of our Honorable MD Sir, Shri Mayank Agarwal. He is guiding and inspiring to organizing today's session. Today, we have an experienced personality, Mr. Biswajit Bisar. We welcome you, sir, on this platform on behalf of ED Cell of IMT College of Pharmacy. Currently, Mr. Biswajit Bisal is working as an startup consultant. Basically, before starting the session, I would like to expel brief introduction about our today's guest speaker. He has completed his master's in pharmacy from Rajiv Gandhi Proud Yogiki Vishwavidhalaya from Bhopal, and also Masters in Business Law from National Law College of Indian University, Bangalore. Well, he is also registered as patent agent. Well, he has experience in IP sector. Basically, he has a techno-legal background with 88 plus years of work experience in IP and R&D. Now I request Dr. Sarthak Bhattacharya sir for the welcome of our guest speaker. Dr. Sarthak Bhattacharya sir, over to you.
Good afternoon, everybody. Myself, Dr. Sarthak Bhattacharya, Deputy Director of IMT College of Pharmacy. Already, today's host, Mr. Lalit Rana, has provided the introduction to our honorable guest speaker for today's session, Mr. Biswajit Biswal. He's from basically Bhubaneswar, and he has done his MPharm from RGBB Bhopal. He has done his degree in law from Bangalore, and he is the registered patent personality. And he has already established tie-ups with different colleges and Indian universities for innovations-based products. Mr. Biswajit Biswal started his career in patent, intellectual property rights, startups, since his completion in MPharm degree from RGB Bhopal. It gives me immense pleasure that such a beautiful personality is present today to deliver a talk on the startup bootcamp, means startup acceleration, how it shows impactness on the innovations. Because right now we all are going through the very tough phase, because already we have seen that several millions of people are infected with COVID-19. And during this pandemic situation, we have seen that so many innovators have started their startups based on the products being developed by the individual or as a team. And Mr. Biswajit Biswal has successfully converted all these prototype products into the successful startup business. So please welcome Mr. Biswajit Biswal. I personally shows my deep gratitude to our Honorable MD Sir, Dr. Mayank Agarwal ji, our Honorable Director, Dr. Mallikarjuna BP. On behalf of all of my faculty members and students, I personally welcome Mr. Biswajit Biswal to this big event on the topic Startup Bootcamp, Startup Acceleration. Please welcome Mr. Biswajit Biswal once again.
Thank you, Dr. Sarthak. It's my pleasure to be here on this forum, and I'm immense happy, and I feel pride in presenting my experience, my learnings to the organization, and I'm thankful to Dr. Sarthak for inviting me. So I will be sharing my presentation. Yeah, Mr. Lalit, is it visible? My screen is visible?
Yes, sir, it is visible. Please continue.
Okay. So it has become like very famous word, startup these days. Startup, like everyone is coming up with startup ideas. Government is giving various initiatives. Colleges, schools, universities, even college dropouts, and even industry dropouts after working for some time in industry, they are all starting their startups. So basically, what is startup? Startup is basically a concept, you can say a product, you can say a service, whatever it could be. uh, it could be developed into a suitable marketable form, and through that revenue could be generated. So in the current presentation I will cover preliminary information on startup and bootcamp. What are the requirements for starting up a startup registration, and what are the advantages of such registration, and how you can protect your business and intellectual property, and how universities and college can in fact incubate startup. They can become a germ ground for them, and they can help various startups and students to get employment themselves to become an entrepreneur. So what is a startup? A very famous entrepreneur and startup mentor has once said, startup is an organization designed to search for a repeatable and scalable business model. So, as such, startup could be an idea, like from a college, from a university, or maybe from a garage. Like we know that Facebook, how it came up, how the Mark Zuckerberg thought about it in college, and how some of the friends contacted themselves, how they researched on it, and they launched their model initially. Then it failed. Then they again developed it, and then it became a multinational company. So startup basically is a small company, typical small company where ideas and innovations and prototypes are developed so that they can test it into various phases. They can test it for feasibility, whether they could be commercialized, and based on that, they startup may be funded externally or may be funded by the founders of the organization or startup. And ultimately, their main focus is to generate revenue through developing product for the market. So it can be said that startup basically relies on the idea of capitalizing upon a perceived market demand by developing a viable product, service, or platform. So as I said, service or platform also falls under startup. Like if you see Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, these are all social media platforms. Same way, services like providing some services for developing project or business analytics, or even mentoring startups also can fall under a startup. And the most important and most successful one is product based startup. Here what exactly happens, like innovators, students, researchers, they try to find some problem, some solution to some technical problem. And once a proper technical solution is derived to a problem, then if it is marketable, it comes as a seed for a startup, where the startup is mainly conceived and which is developed into a product and ultimately marketed. And about the boot camp. So boot camp is basically a catalyst. I can say it is a catalyst or accelerator. They basically nurture a startup. They advise the inventors. They advise the resource persons. They provide resources, and even there are many government and private organizations. They will also provide you wet lab and dry lab for performing your projects. They will also attract investors to further boost your startup. So as such, startup bootcamp is like you can say a university, a college, an organization which nurtures a startup. So bootcamp itself provides guidance to the startups. It writes what could be the business strategies, what business proposals can be made, how investors can be attracted, how a pitch can be created, startup pitch, And they also provide some actionable items, like what are the particular tasks which need to be done by different groups, like what marketing people will do in the startup, what inventors will do, what research driven people will do, what digital media people will do. So they will give you guidance. But basically, those startup boot camps or external vendors who support startup, they take some equity share in your startup. So cost of incorporating a startup, or what are the usual costs which a startup may include. First of all, pre-opening cost, which may include a business plan. Usually business plan could be free if it is directly from inventors, innovators, or students, but sometimes they may require some fine tuning. So that may cost some initial cost, which will be very preliminary. Second, research expenses like prototype development, they may require some additional components for development of prototype. They may need some additional funding, which may come under borrowing cost. Preliminary funding can be from relatives, can be from different government bodies, and expenses for technology used during the preparation of product. So as such, these are the basic initial cost which startup may incur. Then post-opening cost includes advertising, promotion, and if they have employees, then employee expenses. So as such, startup costing is very less, because number of people usually in startup are less in the initial stage. It could be 1, 2 founders, and working capital will be very less. So overall cost for incorporating and running a startup in the initial phases is very less. Now, the registration of startup. So first of all, in order to register your startup, you have to incorporate your business into a company. It could be private company, partnership, or a limited liability company. Once a business is incorporated, you can register your startup under Startup India. And then you can take support from incubator and accelerator authorized by government. Although there are various private incubator and accelerator also, they will charge you some equity share in the company, or they may take upfront fee for incubating or for accelerating your startup. Third one is getting recognition from DPIIT, Department of Promotion, Industrial Policy and Internal Trade. So this recognition itself provides you various advantages, like protection of your intellectual property cost will be reduced to less than 80%. You will get a tax exemption for nearly 3 years, and other benefits are there. Then once you apply on DAI-PPT website, you will get a recognition application which you need to fill. And after filling, you have to provide various documents, which include the incorporation certificates, details of the founders, directors, proof of concept. Proof of concept is basically, it could be a web link, it could be a prototype, it could be a pitch deck, where what exactly is your product and how you're going to promote. Those details are there. You can also provide patent and trademark or any other intellectual property details and PAN of the directors. Then you will get a recognition number. And once you have the recognition number and recognition certificate, you can use that for your startup, and you can even apply for funding from government. There is almost in last year 2,500 crore funding has been allocated for startup, and you can even self-certified labor related documents, so that will also reduce your expenses. And you can also get funding support for patent filings, and additional advantage of tax exemption till 3 years. So like everyone wants to have their own startup. Everyone has some idea, like this was the time when COVID came, and a lot of inventors, everyone almost became inventor. So some people came with waterless hand sanitizer, some came with chemical-less sanitizer, some even came with ventilators, PPE kits, various innovations and models came. Those all product were high selling during this pandemic time itself. For some of the people, although the pandemic was disaster, like they have a lot of trouble, but some of the people who were able to take the opportunity, they have founded their startup, they have started making products, they are selling products, and they are getting revenue out of it. But what are the major challenges or hurdles in getting a startup? So there is a very fierce competition. There are major big companies, small other competitors. So as such, you have a startup idea. The day you have startup idea, you founded your startup and you came to market and you started marketing your product, and you will think that you will get revenue from day one. That's very unrealistic realistic expectations. So as such, this is not true. There are many startups, they fail, they again reopen into new startup, or they try to modulate their product, they try to their change their business model, they improvise and then again come up. So you have to have a realistic expectations, and there are always pros and cons to such expectations. Then hiring suitable candidates, it may not be workforce, it could be your founder. Like you can require an additional investor who may become one of the founder. So you need to have suitable hiring strategy so that you can retain long-term relationship in the startup. Then partnership decision making, financial management, various financial management will be required for budgeting, for marketing, for production, R&D, cyber security, and the most important is winning trust of customers. So as such, for startup, basic idea is it has to be a product or service which is actually needed in the real time. So if you make a product, or if you provide a service which is no longer needed or people are not using, then that won't give you any advantage or any fruit. So such startups where the idea of commercialization or feasibility are not estimated, those are in fact failed startups. So in order to have a robust strategy, you should always think what exactly is the current problem, what is the demand in the market, why I'm developing this product, whether I will be able to commercialize this product, whether this will be feasible, who will be my competitors. Those all aspects need to be analyzed while launching a startup or while working for a startup. Some of the exemplary successful startups: Facebook, Baiju, Uber, Flipkart, and many more. So startup as such, the word itself uh, is like explanatory that it is the initial phase of business. But these companies, although they started from hostels, garages, and even with no funding or private funding, but now they are $1 million companies and they are running really good. So now, protecting your business through IP. So what are the basic IP requirements? Like everyone will have an idea. For example, you have a prototype, like for IMT, like Dr. Sarthak, he's a innovator. So being a pharmaceutical formulator or scientist or researcher, he will have some formulation or a product. So he will think like, okay, I have this drug, I will try this and I will sell it because it is pandemic COVID time. I will try to provide a formulation which can be given to patients, and I will try to commercialize this product. But what will happen if once he has disclosed the product to public or to initial stage to the various funding body, like to some pharmaceutical company or to other manufacturers? So they will simply copy his product and they will start themselves manufacture. Why I will give you share? Why I will provide you share? Instead, I can easily copy it and make it for myself. All the thought concept, everything will go to them. So what Dr. Sarthak will gain? Nothing from that. So in order to protect your business idea and concept, you need to have a thorough IP protection for it. So you can have IP protection in terms of patent, designs, trademarks, copyrights, trade secrets, and many other. So patents basically are given to inventions, innovations which are novel, new, and should have industrial applicability. Likewise, designs also can be protected. Like for example, in COVID cases, we have various designs for ventilators, various UV chambers have been created to sanitize products, equipments. Even there is one company in Mumbai which is dealing in these design-based products, where what they are doing, they are providing various film industries system where all the equipments and all the necessary things which are used during production of a film are passed through those big sanitizers, and once they pass, those are basically UV chambers. They have been designed in such a way that big equipments can easily pass through. They have protected their product through design. So that is also a startup. They have the business model that we will provide sanitization and sterile facility to undergo their work, and they are earning very good in this sector. Basically in Mumbai and other film location, they are providing these facilities. Same way, trademarks are very important. They recognize your business into a separate entity. Copyrights are also truly important. They have protection for the literary work, that may be your business model, your presentations, your prototype thesis. And sometimes we cannot protect inventions, so that cases we can also have trade secrets. So for protection of business through IP, there are some challenges also. After protection also, you may need to evaluate various things that first of all include freedom to operate. Like you have a product, okay, you got a patent, next day you came to market and you started selling your product, but you didn't do freedom to operate. So freedom to operate basically checks other IPs, other patents, other barriers which may prevent you from commercializing or from working your product. For example, like for pharmaceutical, I will tell, like a tablet dosage form is there. Okay, you have a tablet and it has three component A, B, and C. You made a novel mixture of drug plus A, B, and C. Ultimately, what you came to know, B and C have already patent protection. So when you will launch your product with your drug ABC as a tablet, you will be infringing patents of B and C. So that way they can sue you and they can take damages of you. So before launching a product, a freedom to operate search is also critical, which will help you analyze what are the competitors, what are the existing barriers in the market, and it will also help you to identify licensing opportunities, like whether instead of marketing your own product, whether you can license it to them, or you have to take license from them. So these both these aspects can be evaluated based on the FTO. This also prevents you for surprise challenges, because once you have commercialized your product and you're getting a lot of good revenue, and suddenly you are surprised with a notice stating, okay, your product is infringing someone's patent. So you may have to lose a lot of money in that cases. So a freedom to operate search will help you in establishing a reliable and robust product and marketing strategy. Then comes technology transfer. Yeah, definitely a product for a startup, development of a product is a viable cause and motive to make a startup. But unless that product can be transferred, that product can be reproduced multiple times. It cannot be, if it cannot be transferred to a industry, then there is no use. If you cannot produce the product in large scale, you cannot scale it, then there is no use. So you also have to see there should be technical feasibility for technology transfer of that product. And last is commercialization, which also include business development, promotion, and advertisement. So how universities, colleges can incubate startup. So basically this bootcamp, as it is for a university. So here I see from my aspect that universities are potential incubators. They can be a very good place for various inventions to nurture and develop. So what universities already have? They have workforce. They have teachers, they have professors, they have students. They can be worked. They have infrastructure, they have laboratories, they have resources, they have different departments. What you need is guidance, motivation, and funding. So guidance and motivation can come from any of the startup incubators or government bodies or various government promotional programs. About funding, once a startup is registered, as I said, you can also apply for a funding if your product is robust and you have a good marketing strategy for the product. Definitely you can get funding from government. Even if you have a robust product, you can also attract external investors who will take minimal stake or profit from your final marketing commercialized product, and they will fund the startup. So how universities can help? Teachers and professors can promote ideation, take ideas from the students. They can motivate them to find technical problems and how those technical problems can be solved. Then after getting those ideas need to be refined based on whether they can be scalable, whether they can be produced at large scale, whether they have any actual practical applicability, whether they could be actually commercialized. Those aspects you can take up and then refine further. Then develop prototype or models. Once such prototype is developed or model is developed, you can apply for intellectual property, and you can register your startup. As I mentioned earlier, your startup registration is very easy. You have to go to the Startup India website. Once you have an incorporated company, you can simply register your startup in the website. And once you have registered your startup, you will get a lot of advantages and benefits in terms of tax exemption, funding, and also you can have protection in IP by getting a reduction in costs. For example, I will tell you, for filing a patent application by an individual inventor, the cost is only 1600. And for prosecution, it will cost another 8,900. So total cost will be 8,900. But same thing, if your college is doing, it will cost you 44,000. So same way, those advantages are also applicable for startups. Once you are registered, you have registered your startup into Startup India and you got the recognition certificate, you can avail those benefits and file it almost at a reduced cost of 80%. Then once your patent is filed, you have done your patentability analysis, everything is ready. You can show it to investor, you can show it to various exhibitions. No one can copy your product. You are assured that your IP is protected, and ultimately you can take it for tech transfer and commercialization. So basically, industry, they are developing products, they are doing research and development, they have infrastructure, they have a lot of cost expenses. But with educational institutions, although they have expenses, some in expenses, but those expenses are not recurrent, like lab facilities and mentors in terms of guides, professors, and the student workforce. They anyhow have to do some thesis work. Instead of that, they can collaboratively work, like analytical, like chemistry people, like pharmacognosy people. They can develop extract. Those extract can be evaluated for chemical activity in pharmacology. Then after refining of the pures, those pures can be led to formulators to develop feasible formulation. So all these aspects need to be evaluated, and itself all those things can be done in college. So colleges are like a very good place for actual in a like incubation of startup, because in colleges students, they are fresh, they are new minds, they are definitely motivated because they are pursuing higher education. And if they are nurtured properly, they are trained, guidance is given to them, and proper support is given to, definitely colleges and universities can develop as good incubation centers for innovations. And definitely they can be developed from industry partnership. But IP protection is must for developing a startup. for bootstrapping a startup, because any business model without a protection, without FTO, without proper boundaries is very difficult to pursue, because there is very stiff competition in market, and anytime anyone can copy your product and start selling. So you need to have robust IP strategy, robust protection of your product, and proper strategy to commercialize the product. So that's it. Now I will be open for question answer if any. Yeah, Dr. Sarthak.
Hello.
Yeah, Dr. Sarthak.
Yes, yes, yes.
I will be
Very
happy to
beautiful
answer various
presentation
questions.
actually you have given. Hello.
Yes, sir.
Actually, the thing is, so many questions have been raised by my beloved faculty members. Please, I request Mr. Lalit Rana to just ask some few questions from Startup Bootcamp and how it is showing the impactness on innovations.
Sure, sir. So let's start our question answer section. So basically, first question has raised up from our B.Pharm fourth year students. The question is that basically startup for doing any startup, basically at first part, what all are the barriers that to a particular person has to face to doing any entrepreneur or any startup profile or launching any product in the market? What are all the barriers? This is basically the questions from the students.
So I will address, like, this question was from a B.Pharm student. So I will address it in a model of a drug. So being from a pharmacy background, just having an idea that I will open a startup is not at all advisable, or is not at all correlatable. You should have an idea of having a product, or you should have an idea of having a service, a platform. So startup basically works on the principle of identifying what is currently required, what is required in the market, and how I am going to satisfy that requirement and capitalize that requirement and achieve some gain from that. So major hurdles usually people have is they don't have a proper prototype or business model. They just say, okay, I want to make something, I will start getting investors, and then I will start working up my startup. That's not possible. If you directly go to someone, sir, I have this idea that I will be making a waterless sanitizer, and I want to commercialize it. I want funding from you. So if you go like this, no one will attract you, first of all. Secondly, they will simply take the idea, okay, waterless sanitizer, that's a good idea, I can use it. And they will make their own product, or they will find someone who can make their own product and use it. What your B.Pharm student will get? Nothing. So before getting to such ideas like conceptions, you should have a proper strategy. Like if it is a product, you should develop a product, write proper pointers, create a deck, slide deck, where what is the strategy, how you will be developing that product, what are the chemicals required, what are the infrastructure required. Those things you need to analyze, and you have to see whether the market exactly needs that product. Like for example, I said waterless sanitizer. Yes, waterless sanitizer is very much needed in this time, because people are using continuously alcohol based sanitizers. So using alcohol based sanitizers have various disadvantages, and the way sanitizer market is moving, at least until the pandemic is over, the market is very high. So definitely developing a product where market demand is required, demand is high, is definitely going to provide some incentives, and definitely a good incentive. So for student aspect, I will first of all say, create a strategy, develop a prototype, file a patent, and then go to someone whether it is funding body, whether it is your college, whether it is external investor, whether it is some incubator, for help in order to commercialize your product. Or you need IP support. In that, we have various government organization also. They will provide you IP support in gaining initial IP related documentation ready, done with minimal cost. So that way you should always strategize your startup idea. Merely just going like, I have an idea, I will go and get next day I will start making money, that is not practically feasible. You should always think practically, have prototype, develop it in the initial stage, then protect it, and then try to pitch it. Pitch it in the sense you will attract various investors. So that is the general model startup should follow.
So very well you have explained the answer of the particular question. The next question is based on business plan. The question is, why business plan is important for doing any startup? Why there is a need of making business plan before starting the startups?
See, the question to this answer is already answered, but again I will provide that. So without a business plan, how you are going to present it to someone? Like every day you cannot go to your relatives and ask them, okay, I want to do a business, just give me money. If even if your relatives, they will like to understand what exactly is the plan, how you are going to do it. So for startup, most of the startup are initially funded by the relatives or from known people. So even to known people, you should have some business plan. Without business plan, if you will go, no one will attract you. First of all, no one will listen to you, no one will give you time. So having a business plan at least uh, create a mindset in the mind of investor that the particular person is actually interested in developing something, and he has set up a path which he will be following. So without business plan, just going like that, I want money, I want to start up, is like insane.
So it was very well explained again. I hope a student get the answer of their question. So one more question is there, and that is, why is special about your ecosystem? Why should I go there? It is
Come again.
something related to startup.
Yeah, but why startup ecosystem? Because I will say, particularly after Modi government came, there are a lot of incentives for startup ecosystem. Like earlier, assume the time of Mark Zuckerberg and Flipkart. At that time, I don't believe there were various accelerator or mentors were available. People have idea, they build their concept into suitable prototype, and they start developing it. But now the startup market itself is very crowded, and definitely you will need support. Without support, it will be quite difficult journey. So with the startup ecosystem, like government of India has Startup India um, platform is there. Startup specific to state-wise startup platforms are there. Those ecosystem are basically like educational institutes. Okay, they will provide you basic education, not related to your course curriculum. It is related to how you can develop, how you can nurture your startup, what are the requirements like for registration. These are simple things you can Google out and you can also find out. But with the startup ecosystem, you will get proper guidance, how you can pitch your idea, how you can have prototype. Those details and those hurdles will be easier to overcome when compared to directly coming into market without any mentorship. So unless you have a robust idea and a specific prototype, you should always look for a mentor who can guide you. Like in research also, like if you have a prototype, okay, you found some activity in an extract. Okay, I got an extract and it has an activity. Tomorrow I will publish a research paper and I will get a lot of recognition and I will use it to get a job. That is like very old mindset. Now what it is, I got an extract, I found a specific activity, I will collaborate with some scientists and develop a formulation, and I will check whether it is feasible and it is safety, toxicity, all this profile can be matched. And ultimately, I will launch a product in the market. So that is the startup mindset. And therefore, that mindset, you need proper guidance from the startup ecosystem. And such mindset only cannot be helpful. You need some financial as well as legal support. That legal and financial support can be provided by startup ecosystem in such startup boot camps or accelerator programs.
So very well answered. Sir, one more last question is that, so there are many funding governing bodies, funding authorities. Those are funding for startups, such as MSME. So the question is that how these governing bodies, how this funding bodies working on startup, how they are providing funds, on which basis, what are the criteria?
So if you go with a government agency, okay, they will have specialists, they will have specialists from your field, they will have specialists from marketing field, they will have specialists from patent field. They will evaluate your product from all aspects, like starting from whether that product can be actually feasibly prepared, whether that product can be scalable in the sense, like you have developed your product like in 100 units, but when you scale that product, like you are making 1 lakh or more, that product is not stable or having some issues. So those aspects, scalability, they will analyze. They will also analyze whether there is a robust and actual demand in the market, and whether after putting this product in the market, it is going to met demand of the market. So all these aspects are evaluated. And basically for government institutions, they always try to think it in an approach of technical problem and solution approach. So there should be a technical problem, and you should be able to solve that technical problem in a technical way. Like for technical problem, for example, if you take COVID times, there was a technical problem, lack of ventilators. So if you at that time developed a startup which is preparing low cost ventilators, so that is very high selling product in the COVID times. So you will definitely get funding for that. And the government panel or whatever startup accelerator panel, they will prioritize your product, and definitely they will try to support you and bring it to market. So always there is major criteria. It should be needed in the market. First one, it should be scalable, that it can be technologically transferred to industry, and it should have good use for humanity. So these three criteria basically help you to get startup funding or approvals, whatever it is.
Well, it was very well answered by you, sir, Biswajit sir. I hope students have got their queries resolved by you. Okay, now we will end up this session. Thank you so much, sir. Now I welcome Dr. Sarthak Bhattacharya, sir, for vote of thanks. Dr. Sarthak Bhattacharya, sir.
Good afternoon, Mr. Biswajit Biswal, sir. It was an excellent presentation delivered by you on the topic Startup Bootcamp. Even honestly speaking, bootcamp, the word I knew, but it didn't mean that acceleration of the process startups. When I went through the topic, I initially saw that definitely some links up may be provided with the patents, innovations, with the startups, because recently we have witnessed that several companies across the globe, wherever their startups or the newcomers into the market, they are all showing dependence on the patent-based products. First, they are going for the patents of the products they have developed, and then they are starting their startups. Even in pharmaceuticals, if we are talking about, we will see that several things, like whatever the ways we are going to provide the support to our humanitarian backup and all these things, you can understand that these startup accelerators plays a big role. That I have understood from your lectures. And particularly, these accelerators are having the immense role. But like MSME, already Mr. Lalitana has recently told in the session that MSME, how MSME can contribute to build up the startups in the universities and colleges. It is a very useful that government of India have taken the distinct steps to the founders of the startup to provide at least the support, financial support they are providing. They're providing the infrastructural facilities. By other means also they are providing the support. It is very good initiative. Even if we are talking about the startup accelerators, means they are the catalysts only. And they are actually thinking that the startup which an individual has established or started, they should run it for a longer period of time, not for the time being, not for the say for example, simple for 5 years or 6 years, we will run the startup and then it will be closed like other industries. No, it should not happen. Even particularly, I'm sharing my experience because Dr. Biswajit sir has very clearly told the startup registration process. And that's the same way we have registered myself, another, my HOD, Dr. Vivek Chauhan, and the host for today's session, Mr. Lolit Rana. We have formed a startup with the blessings of our Honorable MD sir, Dr. Mayank Agrawalji, and the Director of Research, Dr. Sanjay Pachuri ji, Professor Mahajan sir, Dr. Das sir, Mr. Mayank Raj, and Honorable Director of College of Pharmacy, and all the faculty members. They supported me a lot to start up this thing. And under the brand name SVL Healthcare, we have started up this startup. And we have got the very good support. Now, after going through your session, it is understood by all of us who have just like the at the starting phase of the startups, we have understood that how we should proceed on to the next steps, how we can raise the funds with the help of the governments, how government can contribute, how government people can come, and how they can share their experiences with the newcomers like us. Because we are working in the colleges, it is a postgraduate college offering diploma degree and master's program in pharmacy, along with engineering, MBA, law, and so many other courses are there. And now, under the visionary statement of our Honorable MD sir, because his vision is very clear, he has told that IIMT College of Pharmacy will be totally research and development based institution, because we can understand that within the next 5 years, those who are having the strong R&D setup, R&D labs, innovation centers, they will only prosper in the fields. And those who are having the highest number of patents, those who are highest number of grants approved by different government agencies, they can definitely, they will grow for the longer period of time in the education. So we have seen recently also AICT chairman sir has expressed that Startup India, Startup Club, and how it is important for the modern use, for the modern generation of the country. Because you know, during the pandemic season, we have seen the several youths have lost their jobs. They're fighting to earn the single penny from the market. And if you see the Zomato, I have seen the profiles of Zomato delivery boys, Swiggy delivery boys. They're very efficient, and they have started to work as a delivery boy. Even though they are very technically sound, they are somehow very educated guy I have met personally. So they have just shared their thinking. Sir, first, why we are working in this group? Because we want to gain the knowledge. And once we have gained the knowledge, definitely what we will do, we will also start like similar type of business in our periphery. Means that is another startup. And this Zomato, Swiggy, Paytm, whatever the companies they are associated with, they will become the accelerators, catalyst agent for their startups, for their companies, guys who are working under them right now, for their startups, they will help. And Mr. Biswajit sir has also shown the impactness of the patent. In India, before 10 years, hardly we were looking for patents. That time it was very important to go for the publication, research publications in the very good journal with high impact factor. But the trend has been recently very changed. Drastically it is being changed. Why? Because lots of the students are coming. They are simply keeping their proposals ready and they are telling us, they said, we want to start up our business. We want to do something new. We don't want to work under anybody's leadership. We want to start our own business so that we can flourish in future. So this is the concept of the young India. So startup bootcamp, it is a very good topic. And the way Mr. Biswal sir has expressed one by one point and what are the things we should consider. I am really thankful because the way he has expressed his concerns over this topic he has presented and how recently our director sir, he talked to me and he told me that yes, how universities and colleges are taking part in the boot camp. So we can understand the importance of the boot camp. We can understand the importance of the accelerators. We can understand the importance of the government partners. We can understand the importance of the government agencies who can be a positive catalyst. Because catalyst, we all know because we are having the chemistry. So we all know positive, negative, neutral. But here accelerators means positive catalysts are working, are mentoring. They are coming to mentor. They are coming to build up the long-lasting relationship between the government and the newly developed concerns, newly developed industries, newly developed business. It is also seen, if I am talking about anybody, those who have recently started their startup, they have come out with the business plan, which Mr. Biswal sir has expressed nicely. He has elaborated it in a very lucid manner so that it is become palatable to each and every individual of we people. Because we are very new to this new concept of startup. What is startup? People are really thinking, people are thinking, oh my goodness, he has started the new business. No, it is business, definitely. But it is not like a conventional business. It is the business where the individual's mind and finance both are amalgamated to make the project mega successful. And that's why we have seen the startups, those who are coming out right now in India, even in abroad also. My friends are there, my students are there in abroad. They have started their own factories and clinical trials, clinical data management, pharmacovigilance. If we are talking about, we will see that most of the time, hardly 5 years, hardly before 5 years, nothing was there. Nobody knew about these regions. But now, people, those who are doing B pharmacy, those who are doing M pharmacy, now they are running behind these concepts, pharmacovigilance, CDM, clinical data management, clinical trials, even the chemoinformatics, bioinformatics. Means people are telling that you should not think about the conventional one. You should go for the applied one so that you will prosper in your life. So this is the concept which is being very much elaborated by Mr. Biswal sir. It is excellent one. So on behalf of our Honorable MD sir, Dr. Mayank Agrawal ji, once again, on behalf of Director Dr. Mallikarjuna BP and all the staff members of IIMT College of Pharmacy, and particularly on behalf of my beloved students of final year, they were keenly watching this particular presentation, and they have already raised several issues. Already, MPharm students, they have sent me the personal message that, sir, we want to interact with Biswal sir. Kindly put a session so that our concepts will become like crystal clear. So I have assured that them definitely Mr. Biswal sir will help it out, and he will one day, I am sure, after this pandemic situation over. So definitely Mr. Biswal sir is most welcome to the campus of IIMT College of Pharmacy, and he will definitely this thing project on this particular topic, startup accelerators, startup bootcamps, to my beloved students. So thank you very much, Mr. Biswal sir,
Thank you, sir.
for your nice presentation. And once again, on behalf of IIMT Group of Colleges, everybody, those who are watching right now on YouTube Live, on behalf of them, I personally thank you for this beautiful presentation. Thank you.